A Heart Between Parts. Starting the list off is this short RPG which seems to take a lot of inspiration from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You wake up as a female Frankenstein and try to find a way out of the dungeon your creator has put you in. Admittedly, the game does look more unique graphically, but I find the game is way too short for you to properly get into. The dialogue featured feels strangely Shakespearean too, and none of it is exactly memorable. You wouldn't be missing too much if you did choose to skip this game. The Midnight Train to Nowhere. Although not as graphically pleasing as Heart Between Parts, The Midnight Train to Nowhere does have a decent if abstract plot. You are on the train to nowhere, a train where people seem to go if they are facing personal conflict. For the main character George, he is experiencing the loss of letting someone go, and whilst the story isn't tear-jerking, it isn't bad. However, the plot is still relatively short, and the gameplay basically features you speaking to different NPCs, some of which have been added just for the sake of adding. It isn't a terrible game, but if this game was planned to get the player emotional, they definitely needed more content. The Puppet of Tirsa. Admittedly, this game is still in alpha and does not have much content yet, but regardless, for a demo I do find myself interested in playing more. A little girl wakes up in the middle of the night to find someone under their bed. For some weird reason, when the stranger grows tentacles under her bed, she decides to help the monster by getting it free. The demo ends with a portal to another world being opened, dragging the little girl to another dimension. I find this game looks neater than the two previous games discussed, both in terms of story and cutscenes. Although there isn't much of a gameplay aspect, there is still little pieces of dialogue which could make you giggle, especially Sir Lancelot. Hopefully, when the game has been fully made, we will see more of what the Puppet of Tirsa has to offer. The Armoire. As a fan of classics, the Armoire instantly drew my attention through the 18th century mansion background. In this game, you are a recently wedded wife who is curious about what their husband keeps in their armoire. You venture around the house, but soon find your husband harbours a very dangerous secret about his past. A lot of what you have to do in the game is mainly picking up items and using them with other ornaments in the room. Pretty generic for a role-playing game. The dialogue tends to focus on the mystery of your husband Richard, but besides this there are no memorable lines or other characters you can interact with. But even if slightly predictable, Armoire does come up with a good story, and its appearance perfectly matches its look with the time period. Light in the Dark. Although simplistically made and something which looks like RPG Maker, Light in the Dark offers an interesting perspective on child abuse and depression. The story is you are a kid who is enslaved and trapped away with their mother. One day you discover that your mother actually had another daughter, Adelie, and it's up to you to find out the mystery and eventually escape from your mother. What makes the game interesting for me is the use of colour. The black and white highlights how colourless the world is to the main character. Furthermore, even when the colour returns in the story's ending, the main character is left as the only thing black and white. This is an interesting perspective to me because the game has a message of its own about parent abuse. It's something which makes you feel separated from those that you love because you find it hard to put your trust in the family. Of course the game still comes with drawbacks. The mother in particular seems to be a very unrealistic character to me, and there's never really an explanation behind why she's so abusive in the first place. However, this game is still worth a go, so I would totally recommend playing it. Price. As horror puzzle games go, I definitely found Price to be a little hard at points. However, I cannot deny that it's a well-made game and one which feels really thought out. The tale tells of a boy called Ivory waking up in a strange room he's locked in. Through combining clues and solving gimmicks, he has to somehow escape said room and find his sister Eva. The anime style used for this game is beautiful, the music perfectly fits whatever atmosphere you're in, and there's even an amazing intro which gets you straight into the game's story. This mystery adventure is one definitely worth a try, hence, Game of the Week is Price.